What if posting a photo of your latest charity work, actually destroys the psychological benefit of doing it in the first place?
Yeah, that is a heavy thought right out of the gate.
Right. Just think about that for a second. We live in this culture where documenting our good deeds is, well, it's basically seen as a prerequisite for them even mattering.
Oh, absolutely. If it's not on your feed, did it even happen?
Exactly. But what if the simple act of hitting share completely short-circuits the internal reward system of doing something decent?
It definitely flips our modern intuition upside down. I mean, we are so wired right now to believe that visibility equals value.
Right.
And that an unshared virtue is somehow, a wasted one.
That tension is exactly what we are going to explore today. So welcome to today's deep dive. We've got a really fascinating piece of source material in front of us.
We do. It's an excerpt titled Faith in the Spotlight, Discipleship versus Digital Presence.
And it looks at this intense, almost frantic drive we have for visibility. But, and this is the interesting part, it views it through a very traditional spiritual lens.
Which is such a unique angle.
It is. Now, I do want to set some ground rules for you as you listen. We are looking at a Christian theological text today, but we are not here to preach to you or debate any religious doctrine.
Right. Our mission here is purely analytical.
Exactly. We're using this text because it acts as this incredibly sharp, ancient mirror reflecting our modern psychological obsession with the internet. We're going to use it as an artifact, really, to diagnose human behavior in the digital age.
And it does a fantastic job of that.
Okay, let's unpack this. The source text doesn't tiptoe into the subject at all. It kicks off with a really provocative question, asking, are we raising Christians or content creators?
Yeah, that framing sets the stakes immediately. I mean, the author is drawing a hard line in the sand between two entirely different ways of existing in the world.
Right.
Being a content creator, well, in this context anyway, it isn't just about making videos. It's a specific psychological posture.
What do you mean by posture?
Well, it's a state of mind where everything you do, think, or experience is immediately evaluated for its potential to be packaged, broadcasted, and consumed by an audience.
Wow. Which feels like it's bleeding into absolutely everything right now, including how people practice their deepest beliefs.
Oh, for sure.
The source actually argues there's this palpable tension today where the pursuit of influence is actively replacing intimacy with God.
Yes.
And when I read that, it made me think about the old Instagram versus reality cliche. But, that doesn't quite capture what the author's saying here.
No, it doesn't. It's deeper than just using a filter.
It feels way more insidious. It's almost like the internet acts as a spiritual funhouse mirror. Like it doesn't just reflect your faith, it actually distorts your internal self to maximize external engagement.
That funhouse mirror analogy captures the mechanics of this perfectly. You literally start warping your own beliefs and your actions to fit the aspect ratio of the platform.
Right.
And to anchor this argument, the author brings in a passage from an ancient historical text from the book of 1 Samuel.
Oh, right, the part about outward appearance.
Exactly. The text reads, "Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart."
So we have a thousands of years old text pointing out this fundamental human flaw, this obsession with the surface that just happens to perfectly describe the core architecture of social media.
What's fascinating here is how fundamentally opposed that ancient value system is to the modern attention economy. I mean, algorithms do not have the capacity to measure internal character.
They really don't.
They can't measure intentionality or, quiet virtue. They are completely blind to the heart.
Right, because the entire architecture of the internet relies purely on the outward-facing broadcasted performance.
Exactly. The algorithm can only measure what it can actually see. Clicks, likes, watch time, outward aesthetics.
So you're trying to operate within a faith tradition that explicitly warns that the divine ignores outward performance and only values the hidden internal reality, while simultaneously immersing yourself in a digital culture that only rewards outward performance. I mean, that is a recipe for a massive psychological and spiritual crisis.
It really is.
You just can't optimize for both.
You really can't.
Yeah.
The metrics of success are inversely proportional. The more you optimize for the algorithm, which, demands constant visibility,
Right.
the further you drift from the theological metric of success, which demands internal unseen cultivation.
And the source material doesn't just leave it at this high-level crisis, which I appreciate. It actually breaks down the mechanics of how this drift happens.
Yeah, it calls it a slow fade.
Right.
Yeah.
The author identifies 3 subtle shifts taking place in modern personal identity. First, a move from the secret place to the spotlight.
Okay.
Second, shifting from transformation to presentation. And third, moving from obedience to online validation.
Those shifts are insidious because they don't feel like a rejection of faith at all. They just feel like an adaptation of it.
Like you're just updating it for the modern era.
Exactly. You still
Yeah.
think you're doing the right thing. You're just, well, you're putting it on a stage.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I want to challenge this third shift, this idea of moving from obedience to online validation.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because, honestly, the text feels a little bit cynical here. Let's say someone genuinely helps out at a homeless shelter, or, I don't know, they post a vulnerable story about overcoming a struggle.
Right.
And they share it online to inspire others. Maybe that post actually inspires 10 other people to go volunteer. Isn't the algorithm actually doing some good there?
It's a really fair pushback.
Does getting some likes on a faith-based post really short-circuit the spiritual value of the good deed?
The author actually anticipates this exact defense. They point to a famous passage in the Gospel of Matthew to address it.
Oh, the street corner thing.
Yes, exactly. It brings up a teaching where Jesus explicitly warns his followers against practicing righteousness just to be seen by others. Historically, this was a direct critique of religious leaders who would literally stand on street corners and pray loudly, just so the crowds would notice how pious they were.
So basically, the ancient street corner is just the modern social media feed.
That's the exact parallel.
Yeah.
But the psychology of it is what really matters here.
How so?
Well, the text in Matthew states that if you do your good deeds for the applause of the crowd, then that applause is the only reward you're going to get. You've been, quote, paid in full.
Wow, paid in full.
Yeah, and this gets right into the neurobiology of validation. When you post that video of yourself volunteering and the likes start rolling in, your brain releases dopamine.
Which feels great.
Right. But here's the critical catch. Your brain's reward system does not differentiate between a dopamine hit from posting a Bible verse and a dopamine hit from posting a flattering selfie.
Wait, really? The biochemical mechanism is identical?
Completely identical. It's just validation to your brain.
Oh, wow.
So the line between a genuinely spiritual act and a simple ego boost completely blurs.
That is wild.
The source contrasts this public performance with what it calls the secret place. It notes the theological promise that the Father sees in secret and rewards openly.
Right.
So when you immediately broadcast a spiritual moment for online validation, you're trading a complex, slow-burning internal transformation for a really cheap, immediate hit of dopamine.
And the dopamine hit is your receipt.
Exactly. Transaction complete. The spiritual growth stops right there because the ego has already been satisfied.
Well, that completely answers my pushback, because even if the post inspires 10 other people, the internal benefit for the person who posted it has basically been hollowed out.
Yeah, they've outsourced their validation to the crowd.
But reading this, you could easily start feeling guilty about ever turning on a smartphone again.
Well, for sure.
If the street corner is a spiritual trap, the logical conclusion seems to be that we should all just delete our accounts, throw our routers in the trash, and go live off the grid.
A lot of cultural critiques do end up in that extreme anti-technology corner, but this source material actively pivots away from that.
Okay, good. Because I don't want to throw away my router.
Right, nobody does.
Yeah.
And the author clarifies that this is not a blanket rejection of media or creativity or the internet. The goal isn't to burn the platforms down.
So what is the goal then?
It's a call for recalibration. The text argues that we have to ensure platforms don't replace presence, and that a person's identity remains stronger than their digital influence.
So it's a hierarchy problem, not a technology problem.
Exactly.
When I was thinking about how to visualize this balance, the common analogy people use is a microphone, right? Like the internet just amplifies your voice.
Yeah, you hear that a lot.
But based on what we've discussed about that funhouse mirror earlier, amplification isn't quite right. Because a microphone doesn't change the shape of your voice.
That's true.
The internet actually changes the shape of your behavior.
I'd agree with that. The microphone analogy is, it's a bit too passive. The technology we're dealing with today is far more demanding than that.
Right. So a better way to look at this secret place the text keeps mentioning is to think of it like a dark room for developing photographs.
Well, I like that.
Yeah, think about it. For film to develop properly and reveal a clear, beautiful image, it has to be kept in complete darkness. It has to soak in the chemical process for a very specific amount of time.
Right.
If you get impatient and just flick on the lights to show everyone how the photo is coming along, you instantly overexpose the film and ruin the picture.
Wow.
The image never reaches its full potential, so the text seems to be arguing that our character requires that exact same lack of exposure to actually develop.
That darkroom metaphor nails the underlying mechanism perfectly. Character, much like film, requires a period of unseen, uninterrupted time to become permanent.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the author uses a mandate from an ancient letter to the early church, from the Apostle Paul, to drive this point home.
Okay, what does the letter say?
The instruction to believers is, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds.
Conformity versus transformation.
Exactly.
And in the context of algorithms, conformity takes on a very specific technical weight.
It really does. Think about how algorithmic architecture actively enforces conformity. It is a literal external pressure system.
How so?
Well, if you want to be visible, the algorithm demands that you speak in the currently trending cadence. You have to use recognizable aesthetic tropes and neatly package complex thoughts into digestible, polarizing takes.
Right, there's no room for nuance.
Exactly. If you try to be nuanced or quiet or complex, the system penalizes you by burying your content. You literally become invisible.
Wow.
So the pressure to conform isn't just peer pressure anymore, it's mathematically coded into the software.
And so transformation is the antidote to that software.
Yes. Transformation is an internal structural change.
Yeah.
It does not happen while you are actively trying to placate an algorithm.
Right, you're too busy performing.
Exactly. It happens in the quiet, in your darkroom. It requires deep thought, reflection, and the actual work of mental and spiritual renewal. Your digital platform is really only spiritually healthy if it acts as a delayed, natural byproduct of that internal transformation.
Rather than a frantic, real-time attempt to conform to digital demands.
Spot on.
Which means you have to be willing to be a little invisible sometimes.
You do.
You have to be okay with the algorithm totally ignoring you while the film develops.
That is the hardest part for most people.
So, if conformity is the disease we're diagnosing here, how does the source material suggest we actually measure it in ourselves? Because nobody thinks they're just conforming. We all think we're being so authentic all the time.
Oh, absolutely. But the author provides a devastatingly simple diagnostic for this. After unpacking all the theology, the dopamine loops, and the pressure of platforms, the text boils the entire crisis down to one piercing metric.
Okay, what is it?
It asks the reader, the real question isn't how many people are watching you, but who you are becoming when no one is.
So what does this all mean? When you strip away the religious context for a moment, that line, who you are becoming when no one is, that is the ultimate metric for human integrity.
It really is.
If your kindness, your patience, or your moral stances only materialize when there is an audience to witness them and validate them, do you actually possess those qualities?
That is the million-dollar question.
Or are you just wearing them like costumes for a performance?
It forces you to look at the raw data of your own life without the filter of an audience. And to support this final litmus test, the text leans on one last piece of ancient wisdom, citing a well-known proverb.
And what's the instruction there?
The instruction is to guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life.
Guard your heart. I mean, that is one of those phrases that gets thrown around on coffee mugs and bumper stickers all the time.
It really does.
It can sound incredibly passive, almost sentimental. How does the source rescue it from just being a cliche?
By returning it to its original ancient context. In that wisdom literature, the heart has nothing to do with mere sentimentality or fleeting emotions.
What does it mean then?
It is the literal command center of a human being. It represents your will, your deepest intellect, your agency, and your absolute core identity.
Wow.
So when the text says it determines the course of your life, it means the heart is the steering wheel.
And the attention economy is currently fighting for control of that steering wheel.
Exactly that. The author frames this as the most urgent task of modern life, because the internet views human will and attention as just raw data points to be harvested.
Right.
If you do not actively, fiercely guard your control center from the performative, validation-hungry nature of digital platforms, your agency is going to be hijacked.
It's inevitable.
You'll stop living a life of internal secret transformation, and you'll just become a passive consumer and a creator of your own flattened external presentation.
It's such a stark warning. I mean, our attention is constantly being pulled away from the darkroom where the real permanent image is formed. Yeah.
And it's dragged out onto this brightly lit stage where everything is shallow, overexposed, and fleeting.
The spotlight is enticing, for sure, and it gives us that immediate dopamine receipt. But it's ultimately sterile. The deep roots of character, well, they only grow in the dark.
Let's quickly recap the territory we've covered today.
Okay.
We started with the core tension between discipleship and digital presence,
Right.
looking at how the drive for online influence is actively competing with that ancient call for hidden spiritual depth.
And we broke down how our brain's reward systems don't distinguish between a spiritual act and a digital ego boost.
That was wild.
It makes it incredibly easy to trade true transformation for the dopamine receipt of online validation.
We also explored the mechanics of conformity, noting how algorithms actively shape our behavior to fit their molds.
Yep.
And why guarding the secret place, that dark room of the soul, is just essential for genuine character development. The text reminds us that platforms are totally fine, but they must never replace presence or dictate our core identity. And we wrapped up with that haunting diagnostic. Who are you becoming when no one is watching?
We dug into the urgent necessity of guarding the heart, our internal command center, from being hijacked by an attention economy that just wants to turn every aspect of our lives into content.
It's a profound, challenging framework for anyone trying to maintain their integrity in a hyper-connected world.
It truly is. And it leaves me with a final thought to pass on to you, our listener, to chew on after this deep dive is over.
Okay.
We spend so much time and energy trying to figure out how to stand out, how to build an audience, and how to make our voices heard in all this digital noise.
We really do.
But if our algorithms and our platforms are fundamentally engineered to enforce conformity, reward surface-level aesthetics, and harvest our attention, could the simple, intentional practice of digital anonymity be the answer?
Wow.
Could choosing to keep your deepest transformations, your quietest good deeds, and your most profound moments completely off the internet be the most radical form of modern rebellion?
In a culture that demands constant performance, choosing to remain hidden just might be the ultimate act of guarding the heart.
Something to think about the next time you feel the urge to hit post. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it gave you some new tools to examine the invisible forces shaping your daily life. Keep questioning the systems you interact with, guard that secret place, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.